yung kasabay ng pag-transition ng platform, ng news platforms. Ano. So medyo, yun yung naging challenge ng generation, or at least ng mga kasabayan ko sa field. Those who started in the early 2000s. So itong set of images na to, ito yung pinakita ko sa isang art exhibition sa Gwangju last year that is very much aligned with revolutions. It's a selection of images from different news coverages from 2000, the early 2000s to about 2010. Ito yung ginamit kong sequence dahil yung thread ng aking trabaho taps different social and societal and social issues. No? Pero majority of it, nakadisya siya sa paghahanap ng sarili ng revolution. So a few of us, puro journalists who started in the early 2000s, nung medyo matanda-handa na after maybe 10 years, nag-usap-usap kami na parang those who came before us, ang laging simula or ang gauge nila was during the 70s, the resistance during the 70s, covering resistance, covering the underground movement, and at the same time covering what was happening that led to the next revolution in the 80s. Sa amin, hindi namin mahugot masyado because yun nga, transition to digital, tapos yung EDSA DOS lasted only for a few days. So yun yung naging namin. Hindi naman siya NCUE, pero lalo namin yung pinag-usapan na how do we root our work into something that is connected to Philippine society, Philippine system. So yung set of images na to, naging ano siya, parang gagay. So whenever I would cover, for example, news images, sorry, news images, lagi akong tumigil for an extra time. Kunyari, tama ako sa Bonda, and then I was covering something, I would say, news coverage. I would always extend for a year to get to know what was happening on the ground. So naging practice ko siya yung extending the idea of being a witness. For news coverage, automatic yun. You're set to do specific tasks for job. Pagkatapos mo sa benefit ko sa you find photograph, send your photograph to the news publication, and then clear done. Yung practice na dumikit sa akin ay to extend, to find something else more than what you see during that sort of breaking news today. Yun yung naging start. So.
Okay, and we'll have a Q&A, but students, please feel free to raise your hands and ask questions as we go along. No? He started with EDSA DOS. And
Read the newspapers. So I was walking around Tondo. Paseco kasi before for us was our main source of parang information on the ground. Kung may gusto kang malaman about society, majority of it was already, you can see it in Paseco. Parang may post of what was happening in business NCR. Kasi naging siya transit point, tapos naging migratory, stop siya ng kapunta ng Maynila. So nag-meet ng younger set of, I would say kids, na they said that they were members of a gang. And it caught my attention, but I was also skeptical on what they were really doing. Long story short, I spent about 2 years following them, going back and forth to Paseco. I lived in Pasig. So every week, I would go and visit. And then later on, siguro after a year, doon ko lang nasabi na parang, okay, medyo mas comfortable na sila with me around. With me having a camera and sometimes photographing. Most often, I don't. I just talk to them. After ko natapos yung Gangs of Paseco, I would say I had about 30 images that I was already pitching to editors, I was showing to curators and so on. Doon ko na-realize yung marami palang iba-ibang process or iba-ibang, I would say, methodology kung paano ka mag-engage sa isang photography project. Hindi ko alam how it applies to today kasi wala nang print masyado. But dati kasi, the idea was to
So, balikan ko lang yung gallery and sources of it. You sort of talk how this would flow, but I want follow-up on that. Kasi you were talking about spreads in a magazine, but we do still have that, but not as much as before. And now it's in a gallery work. How is that for you as, you started with Exodus, this is very, a political event, then you immersed yourself in Paseco. Then suddenly transitioning in a gallery perspective. How was that for you, and how was that taken or accepted by your audience or your fellow photographers?
I think it was a choice. Initially, yung choice of shooting in black and white was one of the main, kumbaga, gauge for me. When I was pursuing the Gangs of Paseco, I just transitioned to digital photography, but then I was more comfortable in shooting in this format. But then nung sinisimulan ko na siyang ipakita sa ibang curators or editors and publications, they would always say nobody publishes in black and white. But then yung affinity for it was really strong, so I said, yeah, I'll just continue it for myself maybe. And yun lang yung naging upside ng project ngayon, at doon ko rin natutunan yung record na sige, gagawin ko to for myself because I know that there's a story here and there's something to say visually as well. And I will do it, I guess, in my own terms. And then, after that, naging part na siya ng process ko. I will do something. Siguro pag kunwari may ginawa akong maliit na story, and then prolong it to a project. Kunwari yung Mario Sagrado. Ginagawa ko siya for myself. Hindi lang dahil sa para sa akin, but I want to follow my perspective initially. And then find a way later on how to share it, or how to publish it or in different ways. No? Either traditional media man yan, exhibition space man yan, or the digital sphere man yan. So, yun, tinuloy-tuloy ko lang din siya. Doon din nagsimula yung topic, yung conversations between me and my peers and my colleagues na where is photojournalism going, especially during that time. Digital, tapos nagsimula magbago yung mga publications from print to online. And then, those who pursued personal projects almost follow the same track. Kasi in the region, in Southeast Asia before, yung mga na-meet namin through this festival called Angkor Photo Festival, halos pare-pareho kami ng ginagawa. Mga dating streamers, dating photojournalists, tapos nag-expand ng practice to long-form, documentary photography, and some of them even fine art. I don't know if I can consider my work fine art, but my process is still rooted on documentary. Pero marami sa amin na hanggang ngayon, na yung ibang nag-shoot pa rin, ay ganun yung ginagawa. No, nag-expand. They just produce the work, produce the story, dive into it, but then the output or how they share it differs.
And there are questions about that. So, whether it's photojournalism, documentary photography, and fine arts photography. And we've mentioned all that. I think, sabi nga, matagal ko nakausap si BJ. We've been talking for a long time from when we met and we worked on an article. We featured him in Art Plus. Then, I started running this gallery because I know I wanted a good photography show that we did. And this is what we have after more than a year, I think, of, more than a year of talking and planning. So, maybe for the students, I remember kasi, I have two questions immediately in mind. During the opening, they talked to me, and I saw the clip of that, and they were asking about the ideas of exploitation and representation. And I think it transition in the conversation of photojournalism and documentary photography, and how we take photos and videos. So maybe we can expound a little bit more, because I'm sure there are more questions. And that's the question it's not their mind. When is it that you immerse yourself in a community like that? When is it exploitative? And when is it seriously important moments?
I-share ko yung short, may anecdote. Nung issue ko yung pagkatapos na ng Ian Barry Awards sa UK. Silver Lens Gallery, one of the galleries in Manila, who used to show a lot of photography when they started. Showed the Gagam Pacific together with other photographers. Jake Verso's work and Tami's work. When they showed that, they had exhibition in the old pasasang gallery. May lumapit sa akin after the show na she mentioned, she told me that she was a nurse and why do I keep showing this Paseco perspective wherein she who works there knows that there's a lot more progress happening in that area. So, kung saan ko sinut yung most of the images. And honestly, wala akong naisagot. Kasi at that time, hindi ko rin alam yung isasagot. Kasi for me, my perspective was, I want to keep documenting this, produce this as a body of work, and then keep showing it, and keep talking about the process of being a witness. Pero, as years went on, magkaibigan kami. Maging magkaibigan kami after that. And she also attended Angkor Photo Festival. Doon ko na-realize na it can be exploitative if you don't exhaust your intention of showing the work in different platforms or as much as you can. In comparison to being a witness, for example, as a staff photographer, once you shoot the story and you file the photographs or the story, once it's published, your job is technically done. It's shared to the audience of that publication. It gets transmitted, or kung wire agency man yan, it gets sent all over the world and shared in an instant.
about Barrio Sagrado? Because this is one of your more personal ones. It has ties with, what happened to your father, or what happened to your father, and the personal experiences, then going in depth with that. So how do you start a project like this that's very deeply personal, but at the same time, a very potent social content?
Yung background ng Barrio Sagrado, I started that project also as a news photographer. So as news photographers, we are parang responsible for different events in the calendar. The month, in the month, and in the. So isa dyan yung pag-cover ng beer, Catholic. So naging process namin every season na document different religious practices from crucifixion, relation, different types. After a while doing it, naging one close friend and mentor, si Derek Soriano, mentioned that you keep documenting these practices with parang nakatakit yung mata mo. Trying to find something that connects, that you are connected with. And that didn't come until much later on. So I kept documenting different religious practices. Mas interest ko yung visual aspect niya. Is there anything visual about this? Pumunta ako sa Sikihor, I documented the leaders there. I went to in Visayas and tried to find religious views. And also in the NCR. Tagalog and NCR. At one point, I was looking at the different projects small projects that I did, even before it became Barrio Sagrado. And one thread that I found was, number one, we Filipinos, because most of the time, parang we always look at it, especially if you don't believe in it, as parang weird. Weird. Kinunan mo yung weird, ganyan, yung ganitong practice. And also in media culture, ang reporting sa kanya ay oddity, no? Yung sinasapian ng ganito dun sa Bulacan or whatever. Yun yung parang isa rin naging reflection point ko. Parang, do we always look at news stories, most especially that something that's connected to Philippine culture as weird or off? But then, we don't consider the fact that we were colonized for several hundreds of years. And then, yung tinignan ko yun, doon na naging mas precise yung pag-document. So, it's documenting different practices, not only religious, but spiritual and even connected to health. Because most often, coming from this body of work, yung revolution, yung finding a revolution, naghahanap ako ng yung everyday life ng Filipino, ganyan. Kung ano man yung makapitan mo, it can be a novena to St. Jude, or it can be a piece of rock that you got from a beach in Apari or something. So depende kung ano yung pininiwalaan mo at kinapitan mo. And if that works to you, yun yung nakita ko sa different subjects na na-document ko for Barrio Sagrado. And then later on, nung dinutuloy ko siyang gawin, the question was, nag-U-turn, bumalik sa akin. Yun nga, yung when my dad got sick of cancer. I exerted also effort in trying to alleviate him of his pain. He had liver cancer. Tapos, I tried to find different ways, herbalists, kung ano. And then, yung edit na nakikita niya yung nandito. And some in the excerpts of that work is, I guess, the product. Later on, it will hopefully become a book, a photo book that narrates all of these experiences and methods, and also the message of how do Filipinos deal with pain.
How do we Filipinos deal with pain? I think that's a potent perspective. No? And actually, we got a lot of questions in Barrio Sagrado, particularly with your particular boxes. So maybe we can talk a little bit about the material here. Kasi for a photography exhibition, I think people have noticed that there are actually very few photo makers in the here, except perhaps for the set of photos that we've included, just to demonstrate how much photographs are actually taken and the careful selection, which we'll get to in a little bit. But let's talk about that. Like your different materials. We see the cloth, we see metal, we even see slides. I think for our generation, even then it was, konti na lang. But we still get the, slide projectors. And for a lot of the students, it was the first time for a lot of them. I feel my age. I feel my age, but for a lot of students, it was really the first time for them to see the slides. And we couldn't even find a working slide projector anywhere online. Do you know where to find one? So, what is the process in choosing the materials?
Unahin yung sa lenticular. So, that work, together with another 4 more sets of lenticular prints. I did that for Art Fair, I think 2018, 2019, for a group show. For a group show in Ateneo Palamuna, Daniela Art Gallery, not visual works, created by Angel Shaw. So, it was a photographic survey show in 2019. So, doon ko siya unang ginawa. Kasi yung aspect ng spectatorship, yun yung naging prompt ko for the lenticular. Kasi yung lenticular, if those who haven't seen it yet, if you move, it's two different. Actually, hindi ganun yung lenticular. Lenticular is one image that if you move, moves around with you. Yung ginawa ko dito sa lenticular prints ko, two different images, which is a diptych that sort of contradicts each other. So pag gumalaw ka, magkaibang image siya. And the inspiration for that also came from the altar. Nung bata tayo, may mga altar na Santo Niño na may gumagalaw-galaw. And also the idea of looking at news images in the television. So yun yung parang idea behind the lenticular prints. But to your question of choosing different materials for some of my exhibitions, katulad nung metal prints na nandun sa black, parang board, it's part of a solo show in 2015 that I printed on GI sheets. The documentary images I printed on GI sheets and exhibited in Pineapple Lab for the time na yan. Yung idea naman behind it was when I was documenting the aftermath of Typhoon Haiyan and also the aftermath of different typhoons since 2009. I always see GI sheets, either dilapidated houses or covering bodies. So yung GI sheet, matagal nang nakatatak sa isip yan, parang it's also a witness to the destruction of communities, but also at the same time, tatakit nga sila sa bodies. So yun yung naging interest ko. Sabi, pwede kaya maglagay ng pictures sa GI sheets. And eventually, at that time, there was someone who was able to print it. But in reality, I'm just curious, how people take document an image that is of news or documentary in nature na iba. Hindi siya nasa frame, hindi siya nasa photo paper, hindi siya naka-ayos ng, kumbaga, in a parang traditional way. Some of them you can touch, like a cloth, prints here, or some of them you can interact with like the lenticular prints. So it's actually a question for myself and for the people who are viewing it.
I find it very potent. We were talking about that, your GI sheet and the stainless plate. Kasi the aluminum print. Kasi the aluminum we felt is here. But I felt like the GI sheet, it has a lot of character in it. And of course, that conversation of GI sheet yellow. Whenever we have a typhoon, one of the things that happen in the Philippines is lumilipad yung yellow.
That's the first one that goes off.
So talaga yung pag lumilipad na yung mga yero, that's when you know it's a strong typhoon. So it's very I think, memorable conversation for the material and the image. Siguro with that, I think it's about time to talk about your monumental project, which is Signos. You have a book, and it's featured quite dominantly in this exhibition. So, how did Signos begin for you?
Um, it was also a reaction to the news events. So from 2009, for those who remember, 2009 was a Typhoon Ondoy, which inundated each part of Manila, Greater Manila area and Northern Luzon. And then back to back with Typhoon Pepe when it happened. So 09 and 010, two back-to-back typhoons that basically affected a lot of hundreds of thousands of families. And also not only that, parang it opened the conversation of the dangers that what if this type of events continue to happen. So wala pang climate change ngayon. Hindi pa masyadong ginagamit sa reporting. So I continuously documented it, Typhoon Ondoy, Typhoon Pepe, and then the monsoon, extended monsoon in 2010, 11. One question that arose during the time was, ano ba yung experience ng maging nawawala ng bahay? So that was one thing. I think I also got that kasi my father used to work for housing agency, National Home Mortgage. But so na-expose ako ng maaga dun sa issues ng shelter, ng displacement, ng ano ba yung proper housing. So nung nangyayari yun continuously, yun yung isang naging sinundan ko. And then later on, 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, Typhoon Yolanda happened. Tinuloy-tuloy ko siya, but then with a deeper question of the very famous word resilience. I try, because I keep hearing it, and then it was being used in news reports and in different aspects. There was even one video that was shot not even 3 months after Typhoon Haiyan. Naging parang MTV siya. Sinut nila dun sa rubble. And it was produced by a new agency, sad to say. So doon ako medyo talagang, yun yung tipping point, I would say, of trying to re-examine the word resilience. So from then on, from the aftermath of Haiyan 2013 until 2015, tinuloy-tuloy ko yun. Pero mas, with great emphasis on the experiences of the displaced. Mental health was part of it, abuse of women and children was part of it. And the class, the types of housing where they were given was also a part of it. And then later on, when I was editing the work, not even for the book yet, I was selecting images from 2009 to 2015. Isang naging parang nag-resonate sa akin was yung experiences, parang siyang mythology, folk story about Filipinos or communities living in Eastern Samar. Sinabi nila na, sanay na kami dyan. Pag yun, sanay kami. We're in the typhoon zone. But then, yun yung naging ko din, yung tumatak sa akin na parang, sanay tayo dyan, pero kailangan ba natin i-endure yan every time? Kailangan tayo tumayo on our own? Or how do we experience that? Or how do we help each other for the next typhoon? So yun, binuo ko siya, and then a friend actually pushed me na gawin mo ng libro, tapusin na natin. So she co-published it with si RJ Fernandez of Mapa Books. And then we published Signos in 2017.
That's really, I think, one of the, all your works, I think, are so powerful, but Signos definitely opens that conversation. And I think, I remember that I'm old enough. I don't know for our students. Ilang taon na kayo na? Before 2010. 09, no? 09, 08, 09. How old? Elementary. Yeah, elementary. Do you remember that? The series of typhoons, it was one after the other. It was before we really talked about climate change. And when I walk people through this space, and I think it's even in the notes, when we confront the challenges of typhoons and natural disasters, we think of the immediate, of course, like food, shelter, at least temporary shelter, water, etc. But the long term effects of it, I think, is still something that we need to continue talking about, because when we talk about typhoons, it's still like that.
Oh, dagdag ko lang. Yun nga, nung na-publish yung work, natapos ko yung editing ng 2015-16, na-publish yung lumabas yung libro ng 2017. Parang years after, even during 2020, during the pandemic, doon pa lang napansin yung work. Doon pa lang nagkaroon ng traction. Like, even until now, parang people are asking about it. And it's almost 10 years ago. In 2026, it will be 10 years since I stopped working on, consciously working on signals. If makikita nyo, yung picture na to, tsaka yung picture dyan, yung series of images na nandyan sa orange na board. This is to illustrate the exercise of selecting a single frame to illustrate an event. In traditional, in film photography, ang tawag dyan contact sheet. And then basically, after you finish a roll of film, you print it, and then it's printed in a sheet, basically. Tapos pipiliin mo kung ano yung tamang frame for a specific story, or a set of frames that would illustrate maybe a photo essay. So, itong image na yan, kaya book ko, I didn't wanna point it out, but it was part of that sequence kung paano nangyari na nakunan ko siya at pinili ko yung frame niya to be part of the project, the book, and most of the exhibitions, the with singers.
It's a deliberate choice. How is that process for you? Because for students, I know a lot of them will be working on their thesis soon and presenting their thesis. And, you know, ongoing, especially for our fine arts students, is to create their projects. So how do you choose to present something, especially in this visual image? Because I think that's very important in this series of, well, in all the work, but here in Signos, definitely there are different styles. And in more photojournalistic sense, I suppose, sometimes it's the more direct photograph. It is, and maybe the power is there. But here, obviously, you've made choices. That's not necessarily something for a news magazine or a newspaper. So, how are these choices made on your end?
Practice yan. Yung sequencing and picture selection is part of a photographer's practice. Kailangan kasama yan sa yung develop niya together with their photographic skill, using the camera, or ways of looking, conceptualizing an idea, and turning it into a photo project. Yung picture selection is actually part of your parang push to share your message, or to give the message to your viewers. Kasi kung sometimes make or break, if you select an image that doesn't move well,
Or parang it's not engaging, it affects the project. Or it affects the platform where you present. And may process. Dati kasi there were photo editors that would help you. So newspapers and magazines and photo agencies, or in terms of gallery sites and curators to help you. In using agencies and photo editor or chief photographer to help you hone what image your set to or set to cover, or later ano yung ipapublish. Walang set, I guess, rules on how to select the right image for your project. Pero ang importante is the continuous critiquing, self-critiquing also at the same time peers. This is good for you. Okay, isang anecdote din dyan is, when I was selecting images for signals, I deliberately showed it to non-photojournalists. I showed it to fine art photographers, I even attended a portfolio review abroad, and that was not really geared for photojournalism or documentary, which some of the reviewers found weird that I was showing right there. But then I wanted to hear what their feedback was. Like images, kasi yun titignan nila without ano lang nila, yung guideline lang nila is the image. How they connect with the image, or if it even connects with them. And sometimes the process. Pero after that, mas mabilis yung conversation. So that became a practice for me. What works for other people. No? I even showed it to grade school students. And asked them which ones were, they were striking for them. Of course, tinanggal ko ng konti yung medyo mga extreme images of either death or destruction. But most of it, visual lang. So, tinitingnan. Pwede nyo gawin yun. That's the base exercise of, I guess, creating photography or picture editing. And also developing your own language as photographers. Baka may magtatanong din mamaya about how do we develop our own visual style or visual language. So that's part of the process. Yung deliberate selection of images, looking at your images consistently and say, is this enough? Did I do enough work for this particular scene or story?
Thank you for that. And with that, I'm looking at these three, I think one of the most difficult images in the current exhibitions here in Signos, the victims of, I would say victims, or survivors. You were victim, but I feel like it's really victim because it's terrible what they went through. Now, if I may ask, what's the story? Like, how did you make these particular choices from Signos images in layering the two images, the double exposure images right here, especially for the victims of exploitation?
Thank you. Actually, an important aspect din. So, kung nakikita natin yung mga image niya, yung double exposed, the one with the printed in aluminum sheet, and these two photographs. And then later on, illustrated. So I did, there was yung parang zine na nandyan sa likod. In the box was the, one of the products of that mini store. Pero ang naging approach ko niyan was, it's really hard to illustrate the victims of human trafficking through silhouettes or without bawal kasi pakita yung mukha. You cannot divulge their identity. It can cause more harm than good, even if it's a very important story. So what I did was, parang lumabas na ako sa traditional journalism or photojournalism, and then did double exposures. So for that one, it was actually a phone camera because at that time parang hindi ko alam kung okay bang ilabas yung malaking camera or yung mirrorless. So I photographed that in camera. So I photographed the black first, and then later on the woman. Ganon din yung ginawa ko for the rest of the series. Pero ito, ang gamit ko na yan ay digital camera, mirrorless. Yun, deliberate siya in not actually in hiding their faces, but more of creating a visual layer para lang hindi siya directly, hindi makita talaga yung identity nila.
Thank you for that. Because when it comes to difficult representations, of course, there's one way, the more direct one, and there's important value to that. But then there are images like these that create a different conversation, which I feel we should talk about.
Bago yung approach na ganyan in documentary photography, most especially in documenting difficult stories. No? Abroad, in the US or Europe, they actually employ different photographic techniques to, to create images that talk about specific stories or topics.
Siguro, may mga questions ba from our students? Yes?
Hello po. I actually have two questions. So the first one is, was there a time that you felt unsafe, especially when immersing yourself in the community and documenting the community? So what made you continue pursuing, or was there a time that you had to back out?
Say social research, especially if you're working independently. Yes, there was a few times. For example, I'm doing this kasi medyo malaki yung camera ng digital. And then, sasagot doon. But, ang naging ano siya sa akin, yung recommendation din from some friends who document, who are independent document photographers too. Na sila kasi yung gagamit nila mas CCTV, smaller cameras, finders, very tuned to that. Yung sa akin is go there and actually tell them that you're a photographer. Do not hide the fact that you are taking photos or you want to take photos of them. So that was one. And then, it's a matter of communication. Kung sino goes. But of course, it changes. Sometimes they have behavioral changes. May drug problem or maybe may alcohol problem. So it's a case-to-case basis. Every meeting, every time that you are there, every time that you're present in the area is actually parang a puzzle. Not really a puzzle, but it's more of trying to secure a conversation. And maraming layers yun on how to do it. Especially if you're working in different communities. The second question was...
Second question is, what would you advise students who choose to censor themselves from social realities, such as in cases where a photography organization refuses to document events, deeming it too sensitive? So, does the word too sensitive exist in photojournalism?
Siguro, ethical dapat po. Ethical dapat po. Every person's right to in the right to speech. So, technically dapat lahat yan ay pwedeng i-document, i-photograph. But under the structure of pop-up success. Kasi photojournalism, documentary photography still falls under the tenets of journalism, which is basically, serving information to the public. Diba? If it goes outside of that sort of, may weird boundary yan, especially today, may social media platforms pa, diba? Naging, I would say, a little bit more complicated. Ganun pa rin. If you follow the tenets of journalism, news gathering, vetting, shouldn't actually be bogged down by anything, right? And then, there are other issues of representation. Should I take a photograph of what's happening in front of me, or better wag na lang? May ganung conversation. It would be better to have that during the second talk in May, because you will have different photographers with a younger set of photographers who have more current experiences of documenting different stories, like the war on drugs, different stories of health. Meron din tayong photo editor yung guest. So,
Yeah, so I guess I have to...
I'm not a student, but maybe a student of life. I think I'm also along that thread of kind of figuring out what do you mean by you're in front of a space and then you have to balance certain things. I think you would all benefit from the idea of what goes onto your mind, perhaps, or a set of criteria that you share with us when you share with us, like what goes through your mind, or are there any steps that perhaps
allow you to say, okay, this is an ethical thing to do. I am going to take a picture, or maybe not this time. Because in the same sense, you have these photographs that you're not showing faces, because that's a conscious decision. But there are some photographs where I like the smiles and you show certain aspects of it. That's vulnerable. So could you share to us these thoughts?
I think nasa how do I say? I think every story that I engage in has a specific intention. Together with visual reporting. So at base, once I go out and start doing these projects, yun na yun. I'm a documentary photographer, I'm a photojournalist today, I'm documenting this, I'm shooting this, so on and so forth. But for intention, the more, the works that have more intentionality, kumbaga, I guess it's more of document it more than know. And then decide later on if should I use this or publish this or no. So there are a lot of those as well. The only moment wherein I really pulled back and said, ito na kailangan kunan to. Maybe when in extreme cases of possibly death, that I don't think that would add more to the reporting or visual representation of the specific event. Hindi na kailangan. Pero for example, in other cases, not of my experience, but maybe from friends and colleagues who are documenting different, more, I would say, pressing events in the last few years, mas kailangan. Magandang conversation yun kasi when do you say that it's the images of death and strife is enough? Tinanong na yan online, and napag-usapan din, especially those who are covering, for example, the Marawi conflict, number one, or the conflict in Mindanao, the other conflicts in Mindanao, and also the war on drugs. And also, not even that, naging spectatorship din yung road rage. No? Recently as well, bumalik na naman siya. So yeah, yun yung question na when do you actually say that, showing a specific photograph is enough. Parang sobra na yun. Tama na yun. We as photographers, we are in the process of producing it and publishing. And it's really up to, then we don't work alone. We need a publication, a platform to show this work and to report it. So dapat team effort. And the vetting also comes from the other half of the table. So, pag sinabi nilang it's worth showing, then you should go. Actually, magandang example, conversation dyan yung very recently na naging controversial. Yung photograph ni Kim Phuc, yung sa Vietnam War. The woman who was burned by the napalm moment. Naging controversial sa ngayon kasi may documentary na lumabas. Chismis, biglang nag-chismis na hindi daw yun yung photographer. But the other conversation there was, na nakuha ko na lumalabas recently was, when that photograph landed on the table of the photo editor, the first photo, we don't show it. Bumalik yung main photo editor, yung bossing, sabi, no, that is the image that would describe what is happening here. So they published it. So parang ganun, it's a really case-to-case basis. Of course, may conversation dyan about the lens, the Western lens, and so on. But at the baseline of it, we try to show it as much as we can, as careful as we can.
Which leads me to the follow-up question, do you have fears, right? Going into this, especially with such young photographers as well, with making use of social media, or something that, okay, of course, intention is something we can't question. I think our Catholic traditional education has taught us this. But what is the fear when your intention is misrepresentation? Or do you have that? Do you have this? What's the biggest fear, I think, when coming up with all of this?
Ako, for me, I think it's how to continue. Hindi naman how to continue. I think I'm sort of set that I still want to keep doing. this type of photography, or at least this perspective. But hindi ko alam kung fear, pero parang may konting restrictions in terms of showing work that is very confronting now. Kasi may questions nga, nagkakaroon ng questions of so ngayon may questions of consent. Dati kasi as long as informed consent actually more than consent.
Hindi naman humirap pero naging mas conscious yung communities with photographers. Initially, dati yung cross niyan was, nandiyan na kayo yung media, nasa na yung tulong na. So parang almost immediately, pag may media in the vicinity or photographers, they are expecting na may katulong na nakasama. Especially when I was doing signals, I got a lot of that. Later on, with the proliferation of social media influencers, or yung nagpalit na yung citizen journalism into influencers, naging mas, hindi naman, it's fine, it's complicated. Because once sometimes you're in a community, kuya anong page mo, or anong YouTube channel mo. But when you say that, I work for example, for X agency, or let's say, New York Times, ay, ano yan, bias. Parang almost immediately. Most especially, parang ang naging complication is the intention of journalism, which is actually to critique power structures before and report, naging siya, parang negative. So in communities, that's the perspective. I'm not generalizing, but yung experience ko minsan, na yung sinasabi ng nasa communities. Lalo na kung hindi mo in-explain ng maayos or wala kang contact in the community. They would always say na papahamak mo. Parang may ganong connotation. Especially if you're working with displacement, with, mainly displacement, and marginal working class communities.
I suddenly realized, yes, citizen journalism was early 2010s, and now in 2020s it's influencers. So it's a different language.
I wish that was probably
Probably. Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Eugene.
Congratulations, Portia and DJ. My question, I have two actually, pero I'll start with this one. You've had a career for almost 30 years now. 25 time. So simply, what keeps you going? Is it a desire? Is it advocacy, compulsion, or just like photography as an expression? So pretty much what keeps you going? That's my question. Okay, okay.
Sabi naman yung
I'm just kidding.
exactly what you're saying.
Oh yeah, it was 2001. Okay, go ahead.
Ayaw pa aminin. What keeps me going? Magandang tanong yan, especially to our colleagues, what keeps us going? But for me, fine, it's gonna be cheesy, but I still believe in the power of photography. Especially independent visual storytelling, visual journalism. But then, yun nga, pahirap, no? Support, platform, the challenges of representation, then you have the digital challenges, which is, as we know, manipulating images, and so on. But I would say, dati, mas lumiliit yung audience ng independent visual journalism. But, I think, yun din yung strength nun. It's now the communities that are, smaller communities like this, that actually make more sense. No? Mas kausap ko kayo in front, or other photographers would have collectives where they do collective work in outside the cities. Mag-show sila using tarpaulins or base ups, and they would have a conversation with the community. Non-photographic, pero mas focus siya dun sa project or sa story. So I think nandun yung, that's where I am anchored. The how it moves forward is through the smaller communities and how images, photography is used in this part of in these communities.
Actually, that's kind of part of my follow-up question. Okay, so with regard to the current geopolitical standing that's happening in the world, AI and all that, there's so many challenges currently with regard to the to photojournalism and documentary photography. So the future is a bit volatile, but you already mentioned, I guess, the hope is that it's in the smaller communities and engaged audiences. I guess, right?
Follow yan, reading photographs. AJ's been writing about photography. One of the first photographers who turned writers way back. Kasama si Portia, kasama si Stephanie. They write about photography. Importante din yun. Actually, dati kasi nobody writes about photography. It's almost always PR or a promotion, no? Which is okay, kailangan namin yun, but walang criticality doon. Ngayon, meron na. May mga nagsusulat about photography, covering events, covering exhibitions, but also talking directly to the authors, to the photographers, to the curators, and to the organizers. So, malaking bagay yun. So, si AJ, follow niya, reading photographs. Nag-plug yun. Hirap kasi ng tanong mo eh.
Actually, I think he just stabbed so many, like figuratively stabbed so many photographers with that question. Oh, yes, Ren.
Yeah, so first, congratulations on the show. And secondly, I have to say, one of the big changes since I started covering working in cultural journalism was the growth of photography, interest in photography from the artistic and the arts community. And I think the big turning point for that was your colleague, what your colleague Jake Versosa did with Pangod in 2014-15. And for me, I think it was a signal moment, unintended signal, a signal moment in the popular acceptance of documentary photography. That thereafter you could not just become a fixture of art fair, and especially with the expansion of Photomoto, this has become like it's something in the conversation, it has to be in the conversation. And yet there is still this issue that I keep on running into, that people who are wedded to more traditional models of art and art making tell me photography doesn't sell, quote unquote, it doesn't do well, it doesn't have an impact, etc., etc. And some of these people are actually younger people who should be ideally younger galleries, I know, names, who should be more open to that sort of thing. And I wanted to ask them, what has been the response? Like, how do you deal with such? How has the especially people like you who are like closely connected to the artistic community? How are you responding to this challenge, and how is it? And where do you see this acceptance like going? And actually kind of glad that Stephanie, who is one of the curatorial geniuses behind Photomoto, is right here with us today. So congratulations to her too for helping spearhead that.
Kasama ka pa,
I can quickly answer.
Sige.
Yeah, so Photomoto had to do massive programming, educating audiences, and that made the market start moving. So it's not just about selling and selling. We have to have different kinds of conversations of different topics.
Yes.
And let's do an example. BJ, can you put up that image with the, yeah, that one. Is this part of signals or no? One nice thing about, let's say, presenting a photograph in a space, aside from the news which keeps changing and changing every day, as VJ said, is that we're forced to do slow looking. Slow looking, like this image, we don't know what year this was taken. It still seems relevant. And what does it mean to put this shirt on this statue? This setting is not in the sacred space. It is where the production happens of these images, of these religious images, which was brought here, through colonization. But it's this slow looking that encourages these conversations. And in exhibition, the materials that we were discussing earlier, for example, the lenticular prints. In the Philippines, animistic practices have blended with religious practices, right? So there's a duality. The lenticular prints is consistent with that. Same as this print on fabric. The image has a fabric on it. So it's like bringing to three-dimensional what you are seeing of that image. Meaning to say, these deliberate choices of VJ is the medium has to correspond to the concept. We don't just, I'm going to print on fabric because it's kind of cool, or I'm going to use lenticular print because it's a novelty. So these are the questions when we make deliberate choices of presentation, including scale. We look at the news on our phone, it's so tiny, the image, but the one behind VJ is printed large. So it takes up space, you can stare at it. This one, we made it big. So you can look at it, these religious images are covered in plastic. It's kind of disturbing actually, because once that's in the church, people venerate it, they kiss it, they put holy water on it. It just suddenly a very complex image that we're looking at. And that's the importance of slow looking. And so that's one of the things Photomoto does. It's also by pointing out the importance of images and visual, again, going back to people taking photos on the scene and sending it to the news agencies. Sometimes when it's outside the frame is important. I mean, meaning, let's say you took a picture of one side, but you didn't take a picture of the other side. There's a half-truth that's happening. Photojournalists are journalists, meaning they're trained, they have ethics, and not just anyone can say this is what happened, but they only took a picture of the one side. All these questions are so multi-layered and important, and that is way beyond just selling. But that said, in the last Art Fair Philippines, we started selling a lot of photos. So our work has been bearing fruit.
Thank you, Stephanie. Very important. Yeah. If you heard what Stephanie said, ang daming layers nun. Number one, the idea, yung practice ng sinasabi ko kanina, selecting images for your specific work. Sinabi niya, the idea of slow looking is very important. Titignan mo yung dahan-dahan, titignan mo yung nuance niya, the visual language that is used, and so on. And then the aspect of the commercial aspect, which is how you sustain your practice, your professional practice. Definitely.
And then that brings me to I think one of the things I want to clarify and thank you, Stephanie, for raising this. I think it's the acceptability of it, not just as a market, as outside the market. There's also the market forces that are driving the art sector here in this country. It is really the way that we've seen, photography become seen in the same way as we look at other images, that we take them seriously and putting them in that context. Now, actually, which brings to the question, what was, of all the images that you've ever taken, and I mean, there's an image right behind it, and I think you told me that this was one of your favorites. Was there a particular image in your entire career that will continue to haunt you, that, every now and then will give you like, it will give you something to like, you wake up one night and you see that image seared in your brain. And what was that? And when, you don't need to tell us when you took it, but what was that image like?
There's a few. That one image actually is one of the things that I keep looking at every time. Because ilan lang din yung frame niya dahil ang gamit ko ng phone. But what is stuck in my head for that, together with that image, is that yung experience ko of tracking the different transit points of human trafficking in the Visayas. And the experience of going to a specific point and saying, okay, may report dito a few weeks ago na may mga dinaang women children dito sinakay sa bangka, dinala sa bangka. I think most of the, I would say, images that sort of still lives in my head rent free from the Cygnus project. There is one image from the Barrio Sagrado project that is not naman, it's not hunting, but it stays in with me and becomes my parang it just pops up in my head every so often. It's the photo of my dad, moment before he passed. I'm not gonna show it anymore. But because during the time, nung nag-ano siya, parang nabihingan. I had the camera with me, but not to document, but it was there. And then I started taking photos. Which actually my wife was asking me, but why are you taking photos? Later on, when I was looking at the images more intently as a whole, that's when I realized that maybe it's really for me. It's not to tell anyone about a specific story compared to my other projects, with my other stories. It's really for me to document this moment in the last few, in transition yan. So then, I think maybe compared to my other colleagues, they have images that are really strong, maybe hunting. And also yung image that stays with you is most often, it's not only the image, it's the experience of actually photographing that moment. No? So most of the images here, I still remember the time when I shot them, the circumstances during that time. So yun yung kasama. And totoo nga yung sinasabi, like, the stories that we witness actually stays with us. It really never leaves. It leaves your hard drive, it leaves your camera, it gets published elsewhere, but it really never leaves. So it stays with you.
Actually, Red, that was quite a powerful question. We've been working on this project a while, and we've talked to different photographers, not just PJ, right? It's a shared experience. The images are really haunting. Maybe it haunts me, and I'm more of a curator and writer in this case. But I think for the May 10 panel, this is something that we can talk about as well. Because it really stays, not just the image itself, but the circumstances around the images, and it's not easy. It's. I think that was a very difficult question. That immersing yourself and conversing with photographers, it's I think a very potent point.
Actually, from what I know, the documentary photographers also who's involved in long-term projects, Filipinos, and not mainly colleagues outside the Philippines,
parang they evolve in their practice wherein some of their work includes creative interventions. For example, there's one photographer called Philip Blenkinson. So Philip was an Australian photographer based in Bangkok for so many years, covered Indochina for at least 2 decades. Very, very good photographer, portrait photographer. But later on, yung practice niya, apart from still doing film, medium format and still photography, sinusulatan na niya yung prints niya. And then he would include other things like animal bones. May isang print pa nga siya na sinulatan niya using snake's blood. So, nag-transit, ewan ko kung I haven't seen him for quite some time, but I remember him being very passionate about this. And yung mga projects niya, documenting, for example, he photographed the resistance army in Lao that was targeted by the CIA. That's the published in Time magazine. And it became a very, one of the important images of that time. Tapos later on, yun nga, when he would print the work, he would include other interventions. Yung frame niya minsan gawa sa iba-ibang klaseng wood. So I think nagpa-manifest yung experience sa practice afterwards. Especially kung wala ka na sa news publications. When you're doing independent work, you have your own studio, you employ other practices and disciplines in order for you to show the work. Hindi ko alam kung, yeah, it's really, it depends on the intention of the
Do we have more questions? Yes.
Yes, so good afternoon to DJ. My question pa is, with the popularization of AI filters and with like recent trends such as like the Ghibli quote art trend, what would you say about that po? And what would you advise some artists regarding that po? And another question for regarding that. Do you think po in the future that AI quote art trends like these would pose harm to photography, photojournalism, or even art as a whole in the future?
In photojournalism, it is a challenge. It's been it's growing, and it's a continuous challenge for us, and also for publications. As a side story, I was in the panel of the World Press Photo competition in 2024. So in the global jury, doon ko na-discover yung vetting process nila. May filtering sila on digitally manipulated images. And doon ko rin na-realize na if we don't talk about it and if we don't raise it, makakapasok at may infiltrate yung masasama siya dun sa wave of news images, the images that represent truths and reality and stories. So importante na hindi lang siya pag-usapan but be vigilant if an image is manipulated. And also what is important, I think mas na-heighten ngayon is, yun nga, yung criticality natin yung images. This is image real. This is image look like it is under a filter. Of course, there are obvious ones, but it has become better, I would say, in filtering and in rendering a specific look for a photograph. So, in terms of the challenges in art, I'm hindi ko alam kung masasagot yun. Maybe Portia can answer better, but in terms of photography, visual journalism, it is a challenge for us. And continuously remain vigilant and talking about it is very important in order for us to monitor how it transpires or it flourishes.
Thank you.
One question. Actually, it is challenging, just to add to that. It's very, very challenging from an academic sense, from even a curatorial sense, representation. We were talking about slow looking, Stephanie pointed out, and it's so important
with exhibitions like this as well. Kaya nga, sana balik-balikan nyo lang, titigan mo nyo yung mga bagay, and you can absorb it a little bit differently each time. But AI, it's an issue. It's a threat, I think, but I think that's where we see more value in human beings' works like DJs. It cannot be replaced. So it's more of a consciousness that I think we need to develop and to ask more questions rather than accepting what we see. Okay, anything else?
Anything BJ or family is very critical. I think that's huge. We have so many questions.
Very good. Have you considered producing full-color artworks, or is it always was it your choice na lang black and white, or is it just your artistic choice for your body fish art artworks?
Majority of my personal work is in black and white. Part of Barrio Sagrado, the one in particular, was shot in color. Yung diptychs were shot in color. A huge part of that work was also shot in color. Other excerpts of Signos, which was commissioned by news agencies or organizations, were shot in color as well. Gamson Paseco, purely black and white, published in black and white. But it is a choice to show. And Signos as well, dahil I wanted to play or explore other formats like panoramic. So if you would see, there's a display of some of my toy panoramic cameras on this side. It was conscious effort to change, to have a different perspective, together
Together with the multiple exposures as well. So I did that digitally, and that was also meron akong hardware that was included in the same section as that was multiple exposures sa kanila. So conscious decision.
I think for my talk, this is where we got a lot of questions. The most questions. Like the year that I've been here, this is really like, wow, I have a lot to ask. Anything else? Maybe one more? Or, yeah, and anyway, we have another maiden. And I think we can go back to some of the questions asked here when we have a few more photojournalists and photo editors that we've invited. And some of the touch points like what keeps you going and your most, haunting photographs and all that. And for me, even as a curator and a writer, those are difficult questions because I also had to hear it from our, from photographers like DJ. So, Nathan, please, you're welcome to come back. Anything you want to say before we get back to the conversation?
I think, thank you everyone for a very engaging afternoon. But also at the same time, if you may take away something from this afternoon's talk is that be critical of what you see. This is very important, not only in photography, not only in art, in everyday life. Importante yan, kape pa talaga. Parang, important because like whenever I'm invited to like I teach at the San Jose, I teach in Ateneo, and then I teach in workshops. And this was always my introduction. It's a matter of the importance of seeing. And hindi lang sa photography ko in daily life, your art practice, and the critical process of looking is, expressed in our daily lives. And also thank you for indulgence my ramblings. But also salamat sa kay Portia, Stephanie, AG, and the other people in our photography community that continues to uphold and continues to talk about this different perspectives in photography. Maraming salamat, Amor, for being a partner for this afternoon's Artist Talk. Maraming salamat. And thank you everyone. See you later.
See you later. And for this afternoon, okay, we have merienda.
Thank you guys. Thanks a lot.
So, please, it's back there, we have coffee, juices, and soaps now. We can talk more. Ay, photo daw, sorry. Can we please have a photographer? And dear photographers, saan po ba? Doon, dito. Saan yung gusto?
Stand here na lang. Guys,
GL, sa'yo na yung crazy, hindi na sa'yo.
Una lang po, una lang. Ano lang po, nastanda lang si May job eh, no? Pero bakit mas malaman niya na? Hindi. Si ano yung sila? Obscura.
Try to take care of it.
One, two, three. Tingin ko dito. One, two, three. Tingin ko dito. Next. One, two, three. Alright. Tingin ko dito. One, two, three.
Alright, thank
One, two,